बोलना भी
So let's start today's event. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Myself Snehal Singh. Thank you all for joining us today. So I'm very excited to welcome you all here in our today's webinar, which is on topic understanding new criminal laws, BNS, BNSS, and BSA. We have got a fantastic sessions lined up with insights and strategies. I'm sure you will find them very valuable. Our speaker is a very experienced and has a very vast knowledge in this field. So thank you, ma'am, for giving us a precious time and sharing your experience and knowledge with us. So before we dive in, just a couple of housekeeping notes. We will be recording this session. Free to use the chat to ask questions or share your thoughts throughout the session. We will have a dedicated Q&A session toward the end. So now I will invite the Jyoti ma'am to continue to take over the session. Ma'am, you please may continue.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would just like to say thank you so much for this opportunity. It's a great pleasure to always be able to connect with other minds who are having similar interests so that an exchange of knowledge can be there. And I feel privileged that a chance has been given to me so that I can tell something about the new laws and learn as well. As far as the concern is concerned over here, that whether actually these three laws have made any kind of changes to our lives as far as the legal fraternity is concerned, we can very well say that a kind of change in the three laws has been a demand of legal fraternity as well as Indian society since decades now. But somehow, I would not say that we are totally disappointed from by what we have got from the legislature in this way. So, if you all are okay with it, I would like to start with a kind of PPT presentation so that a short kind of points you all can get from where I would be starting with my presentation and what all things I would be covering. So, just give me a moment so that I can start with my screen sharing. I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. So, as rightly told by the host, we are going to start with understanding what is these three laws. But before starting with the three laws exactly, we must understand that whether actually there was a need of change. Yes, we had. Like we are in 2024, but somehow we were still following the old laws which we got from the Britishers only in 1860s. If you refer to IPC, CRPC, or our Indian Evidence Act, they all were a kind of gift or contribution of the Britishers to us. IPC was a law of 1860, Indian Evidence Act 1872, and CRPC, although 1973, but had a kind of origin in 1898. So, yes, there was a need in order to take care of the modern problems we were facing. As everybody knows, modern problems require modern solutions. We were not having any kind of adequate provision when it came to appreciation of new problems as it concerned with the techniques, technology, advancement of manner of commission of crime, or we can talk about inadequacy of punishments, be it in monetary terms or otherwise. And we can also talk about delayed procedures, long hefty processes by which one particular individual had to go in order to get his case registered first, then tried, and then the punishment. Plus, the processes were a lot, I would say, time consuming, very complex, not direct. So, yes, it led to what? Huge pendency of cases before the courts, low conviction rates, plus overcrowding of prisoners in the prisons because due to complex procedures, we were not able to start the trials within time, and then accordingly, we were not able to complete those trials in time. So, somehow, I would say that yes, all these three laws which we got on in this particular year, in July 2024, have given us a little push towards attaining what we call justice. Earlier, three laws were more focusing upon the aspect of punishments, that we are supposed to give adequate punishment to the offender. But the laws which we are having today with us, they are more focusing towards not only the offender aspect, that we are supposed to give them the adequate punishment, but they are also focusing upon that how victims can be given maximum justice by reduction in their time of suffering. And then even if we do not have the person who is actually the victim, but the dependents who are here before the court of law, they should also not suffer at the hands of process of law. So without wasting much of time, because 1 hour can never be sufficient enough to deal with all these three laws, I would be quickly jumping on the first law we have, that is BNS, Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. It was a replacement of our earlier penal substantive law, that is Indian Penal Code 1860. And if we sum up, certain changes which we got by way of BNS was, first of all, there were changes in sections. Earlier we used to have 511 sections, but the current BNS only has 358 sections. It has repealed various provisions which were redundant, no more in use, plus it had added new provisions, although very less, but yes, required. It was a kind of need of all. As far as the repealed sections are concerned, I would not be going into every aspect, but yes, section 14, precisely 124A, dealing with sedition, 377, 311, 497, those laws, those sections which were already somehow repealed by way of Supreme Court judgments we had, they are actually repealed in BNS. As far as new penalties are concerned, I would say in section 4, which was earlier section 53 of IPC, one additional punishment has been added, that is community service. It was not earlier part of IPC, which is a kind of welcoming step. I would say that there can be certain scenarios where community service can be an effective kind of punishment, but for lesser serious offenses, or I would say for the offenders who are first time or occasional offenders or circumstantial offenders, accidental offenders, they can be given such kind of punishment. So that is one welcoming step we got from the new BNS. As far as one new addition of offenses is concerned, one offense we got new with us is the mob lynching offense. It was very much in debate since time that when a crowd, a mob is there and people are targeting other people based on caste, community, religion, sex, but they are not as such punished for commission of various offenses while the mob is at a rage. So yes, BNS also catered to that particular issue also by providing for similar punishments like that of a murder. So yes, in new law we also having punishment for mob lynching that is similar to that of the offense of murder. Even the person can be given death penalty, life imprisonment, or otherwise. Apart from that, what new has been added to, or I would say the most talked about offense, is the offense which is there as far as the offense of rape is concerned, specifically section 69. Earlier in the old IPC, we never had a kind of provision wherein one particular man promises a female to marry, and on relying on that particular promise, the female acts and enters into any kind of sexual intercourse with that man. But later on, the man refuses to marry. So, yes, this kind of act has been penalized by the BNS in the form of Section 69, where they have expressly told us that in case a particular man makes a female to get into a sexual relationship with her on the pretext of marriage, but actually he is not going to marry her, then the person can be made liable to serve a sentence which can extend up to 10 years and shall also be liable for fine. And the offense has been made cognizable, non-bailable, means a serious kind of implication has been attached to this particular provision by making it cognizable, non-bailable, as well as non-compoundable. So yes, this is another welcoming step which I would say that BNS has. Apart from adding new offenses and new penalties, one important change we saw in BNSS is that earlier the defining part was scattered into various provisions up to section 30 or 40. We used to see that IPC was defining various kind of acts, people, person, intentions, shades of mens rea, etc. But all those sections are now merged in section 2. They are made subsections, clauses of the same provision rather than expanding it to section 40. So we saw that definitions like voluntarily, reason to believe, counterfeit, gender, etc. They used to have different sections before, but now they are clubbed together in one section. And as I was talking about the definition part only, earlier the term gender, it only used to connote male or female. But as we are already aware, in 2019, we got this third gender or transgender law with us. So now, Section 2, subsection 10 of BNS, when talks about gender, it also specifically mentions about transgenders. So, whatever we are going to connote to a he or she, the similar thing will be connoted to a transgender as well. Apart from that, what else we got is law upon sedition. So now a confusion is there because sedition was already there in IPC earlier also. So what new we got? Please remember that the earlier sedition law 124A was a kind of provision which was inserted by the Britishers in IPC just to suppress the Indian protesters, those who were trying to protest for independence. Our independent soldiers or the freedom fighters were put behind the bar by using this particular provision. Every kind of act they used to do was taken to sedition. So that was a kind of law which was not very, I would say, fair and just. So that particular provision has been done away with. And instead of 124A specifically, we got another law relating to sedition, wherein a new section altogether has been added, where a particular person causing any kind of danger to the sovereignty, unity, or integrity of India as a country, as a nation, would be charged for the offense of sedition. Apart from that, what new BNSS has given to us is the provision relating to organized crime, petty organized crime, and terrorist act. Section 111, 112, 113 precisely are talking about these three new laws, wherein any particular offense has been committed by a group of people, be it snatching, stealing, or any kind of another offense, if it is committed by a group of people, then a specific punishment has been added to BNS for these kind of offenses as well. Apart from that, another change which we saw or which we are witnessing as far as BNS is concerned, earlier the provision relating to protection of rights of female or offenses which could have been committed against a female were scattered into various parts of IPC. Let it be 304B or relating to Dory death, or we talk about attack, they were in 326A and B. Then rape was in 375, 376 onwards. Assault, outraging the modesty of women, n number of offences. Miscarriages in 312 onwards. So the law relating to females as well as the children, the provision was scattered in the IPC altogether, and now in the new BNS they have been clubbed together. Clubbed in the manner, a separate chapter has been dedicated. Chapter 5 of BNS is dedicated towards offences against women and children. So, yes, the language remains more or less similar to what was there in IPC for all those offenses. The punishment is more or less similar, no major changes we witnessed. But yes, now we have a specific chapter dedicated towards that particular issue. Although, yes, certain kind of issues which we were facing with the amendments of 2013 and 18 remains the same, like there is no criminalization of marital rapes yet. Secondly, the offense of rape or outraging the modesty or sexual assault are still those offenses in which perpetrator is a male, or female cannot be directly, they cannot be directly made culpable as the assaulter when it comes to the offense of rape, which I, as a legal fraternity, personally believe that it was a high time that we should have recognized rape being an offense which is gender neutral. It can be committed towards male as well, as in the similar manner as we are facing the issue against the females. And apart from that, marital rape, although it is a kind of controversial issue, because the question is how we are going to prove it, but still, it would have been great if certain kind of provision like mob lynching was there, sedition was addressed, some kind of concern would have been laid down towards the aspect of marital rape as well. But nevertheless, we still have this welcoming step with us, that now the provision relating to women and children are altogether clubbed in one place. Apart from that, what else we saw in this particular new law is that they have reduced the number of sections by clubbing two or three sections together. If we talk about the section of acid attack. Earlier it was 326A, 326B. Now it is together in 124. Similarly, the offenses against state are shifted to chapter number 7. If we talk about offenses against property, they are shifted to chapter number 17. A new provision is also added as far as section 226 is concerned, wherein if any particular individual tries to attempts to commit suicide, so that he can compel or restrain a particular person from exercising their lawful power, it is made punishable. Earlier we were not having any kind of provision in that relation, which is a new thing we find in BNS. Apart from that, two issues which I think would have been solved by BNS were not addressed as such were one particular provision which was earlier 303 of our previous IPC, wherein if a murder has been committed by a life convict, the person could have been given death penalty. That provision was somehow repealed by Supreme Court, but still it finds its mention in the new statute. As far as death penalty is concerned, it was supposed to be given in rarest of rare cases, as was the dictum of Bachchan Singh versus State of Punjab or Machi Singh versus State of Punjab. But what we find is that BNS has a lot of offences added, wherein death penalty is a kind of punishment which is prescribed. One issue with death penalty, which I personally believe is there, is the death penalty has lost its effect of deterrence, and a kind of satisfaction is not given to the victim of offense by giving him, the offender, the death penalty. Reason being, the procedure of execution of death penalty in India is very slow, is really very slow, and somehow in that process of getting death penalty actually executed, the person, the victim, as well as the society at large, loses faith in the judicial system, because it takes a lot of time when it comes to actually executing death penalty. So these are certain kind of changes which are proposed by BNS in IPC. But yes, more or less the punishments for the offenses remain the same, although the amount of fine which can be imposed for certain offenses has been enhanced. Keeping in mind that yes, now it is time that we should not rely upon 50 rupees or 100 rupees as a kind of punishment, because inadequate punishment loses their effect of deterrence. Otherwise, the wording of the section, I would say, the illustrations which are attached to one particular section, the explanations, they remain the same. And yes, although major criticism is coming on this aspect only, that in case you were not supposed to change the wording of the section, you should not have brought these kind of changes. But a positive side of this, I would be saying, is that by not altogether changing the wording of the statute, what legislature has given to us is a, a chance to adapt. Be it a scenario, it would have been a total change in the wording, in the punishments, in the law, we would not be able to grasp that change that fast. Although we would have, because that is a kind of mandate on us, but it is a welcoming step that they are giving us some time to adapt with the change. And yes, we are very positive on this, that if we are able to adapt this change, maybe in future we can have more stringent laws with the change of wording, adapting to the required changes. As far as the second law, which underwent a major, I would not say major change, but yes, a very important change, is our BSA, that is Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam 2024, which is a kind of replacement of our Indian Evidence Act 1872. But if we go by this particular act, we saw that apart from repealing of a little two or three sections, I would say, nothing much has been changed. What has actually changed, or what BSA has given to us, is two important things. One is appreciation of electronic evidences, which I would say was the dire need of time. We are technologically getting sound day by day. Every day there is a new app, there is a new technology, new kind of cyber crime has been committed in various part of the countries. The problem which we were facing was that we were not having apt laws to appreciate or make the law or make the evidence relevant. See, Indian Evidence Act was based upon the principle of relevancy and admissibility only. Similar is the case with BSc. But where we used to get stuck was that in certain provision of Indian Evidence Act, electronic evidence were never given that kind of space or relevancy which was required. So, yes, this is a major change, the required change, which we are seeing in BSA, that now, like any documentary evidence, like any oral evidence, even the electronic evidence have been given importance. Almost in every section of BSA, I would say that wording where document word is used or evidence word is used, a kind of subsection is added either, or the wording of the section has been expanded by way of adding the word electronic evidences, or the word by way of electronic records, or any similar I would say, word or term has been added to the new law so that the communication, the exchange of documents, information, which is thoroughly by way of electronics or electronic media, can also be given space in law when it comes to prosecution of a particular offender and proving the guilt of such person. Apart from that, a little two or three provision of Indian Evidence Act also talks about witness protection. The earlier Indian Evidence Act was lacking in one aspect where they were supposed to provide protection to the witnesses. Although the provision was there, I would not say that there was not any provision relating to it. But what was the issue was that they were not catering to the aspect of protection of witnesses, because of which most of the time either the witness used to go he used to escape, he used to vanish, or the witness used to turn hostile. The reason was this only, that law was not having appropriate or adequate provisions with it so that it can cater to the issue of witness protection. Until unless the law is so apt that it can protect the interest of a victim, nobody is going to come to the court of law and help the other person by being a witness. So yes, this kind of another, I would say, thing which is there with the evidence part, the Bharatiya Sakshi Adhiniyam, I would say, is this welcoming step that we are now having certain provisions relating to the witness protection. Apart from that, what major we saw is the changes in the procedural law. That is the third law, that is our own Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita of 2023, or we can say 2024, which was earlier our CRPC 1973. What there was with us was very good. I would not say that CRPC was lacking in any part, but yes, certain kind of reforms were required as far as CRPC is concerned. Because when we talk about the procedural law, I would say that substantive law is nothing without a procedural law. If we do not have a kind of law with us to make people believe that whatever right I'm getting, I'm also getting a machinery to somehow put it into practice, to give it a shape, then the people are not going to believe in the substantive law as well. So yes, if we are amending our IPC, CRPC was bound to go for certain amendments. And yes, one very first, I would say the very important or most welcoming thing which we are getting in BNSS is that now we are having time bound investigations and trials. Earlier, it was always a reasonable time, or I would say there was always a provision that in case the investigation is not completed, in case the trial is not completed, then this kind of procedure can be adopted, further time extension can be given. But now, by BNSS, I would say strict limitations has been made that if a particular trial is there, it should be completed in that particular time period only. Investigations are supposed to be completed within given time period only, which will obviously enhance the faith of people in the judicial system, plus reducing the workload and also pendency of cases before the courts, which is a big question mark. I think a kind of solution will be there. Another thing which is there with BNSS is that we are having introduction of fast track procedures, special procedures, in case a particular matter is there which involves serious crimes that too committed towards women and children. For that, we are having specific provisions wherein fast track procedures have been introduced. Apart from that, as we are already aware that BSA was appreciating about the electronic evidence, and even in BNSS SBNS, we are also finding the traces of organized crimes and all. The similar thing we are also finding in CRPC or BNSS, that is use of technology. We are getting the provision of EFIRs and digital complaints, wherein the FIRs can now be recorded, the complaints can now be made online. Earlier, it was supposed to be told to a police officer or made to a magistrate orally or in a written form, either orally reduced to writing or actually in a written form. But now we are also having a third way of making FIRs as well as digital complaints, that is by way of e-technology. Apart from that, another thing which is there in CRPC is the provision of zero FIR. There are many cases wherein, due to lack of territorial jurisdiction, people were denied the right to register an FIR. But with the certain amendments, or I would say judgment of Supreme Court, it was very clear that a particular person should not be denied to register an FIR at any particular place, wherever the person is, even if the police station is not having jurisdiction. But we were not having any law with us. It was not written in any statute. But in BNSS, we are specifically having a provision wherein zero FIRs can be registered at any particular place. It need not be a police station having jurisdiction to try that particular matter, which is again a very good step. Apart from that, video conferencing and video recording has been made mandatory. So, anytime a statement of a witness or accused is supposed to be recorded, it must be on video. It should not be otherwise. And yes, even the courts are encouraged that they use a mechanism of recording every hearing of a particular matter. And we are seeing it that nowadays it's kind of tradition that every court records their proceedings, which is a very good step when it comes to ensuring transparency. The more you are transparent with the procedure, the more faith the people are going to put in the judicial system. So yes, we are having another kind of mandate with us, that is video recording and conferencing. Apart from that, in order to reduce the time in completing the processes, one another step is introduction of digital documentation. Here we are reducing the paperwork in the manner that certain records, case files, and evidences should be recorded in the way of digital record rather than having it on paper, so that the process is more streamlined, the data is more secured, and there is less chance of losing the data we are having with us. So yes, this is the third kind of thing in the way of technology we are advancing, that we are now promoting recording of documents digitally, which obviously can be saved for a longer run. Apart from that, another change which we saw, or another advantage you can say, or another benefit of BNSS is with us, is the rights of accused. Earlier, also by way of the judgment of D.K. Basu versus State of West Bengal, we had various kind of rights recognized when it comes to an accused or arrested person. But now we are having specific provisions like having mandatory recording, as I have already told you, that whenever a statement is to be made by an accused person, it is made mandatory that the person should be videographed, so that the chances, the possibility of forced confessions, extracted confessions, can be ruled out. The person should not be subjected to any kind of cruelty while he is giving any statement or confession. By making videography mandatory, we are somehow ensuring that thing. Apart from that, the earlier CRPC used to have provision of bails and bail bonds with us, but what was there was that certain provisions of CRPC were not clear. That whether a police officer can only release a particular person on bail on certain grounds, or by furnishing a bail bond. So more uniform, more clear, I would say, and more understandable language has been used in BNSS when it comes to bail and bail bonds. That particular right a particular accused has when it comes to being released on bail or by filling a bail bond. Otherwise, apart from that, another welcoming thing is the detainees, those persons who are not accused, against whom the trial is not going to, has not started, is not going on. There are people who are under trials. So we are also working towards, by way of BNSS, on protection of those people. Like while they are under the custody of a particular individual, a particular officer, they should not be subjected to any kind of, I would say, cruelty, inhumane treatment, torture, or otherwise those illegal activities which everybody is aware that in prisons we are facing this kind of issue, that the prisoners are subjected to inhumane and illegal activities. So yes, by way of having a kind of provision that timely production of every individual before the magistrate, this kind of provision ensures this thing, that the people who are under trials, who are behind the bars, who are yet not given the justice, are protected even if they are behind the bars. Apart from that, another thing is towards the victim and the witnesses, that they are having a right to appeal with them. Plus there is a provision of victim protection with us, witness protection also, wherein in case anybody is in the requirement of having a protection given to them in order to be a witness in a particular case, we are having that kind of provision with us. Apart from that, what CRPC is giving us is one thing which, yes, needs mentioning, is that now we do not have any provision relating to metropolitan magistrates. Earlier, in CRPC, a special kind of space was given to the metropolitan magistrate when it came to magistrate, the area, the prosecutors. But now that kind of distinction has been done away with as far as BNS is concerned. Here we are only having judicial magistrate, be it first class, second class. There is no specific mention of metropolitan area as a specific distinct aspect of, I would say, classification of courts or jurisdiction of one particular court. So they are judicial magistrate altogether. Apart from that, we are talking about one another thing which is given to us by BNSS, or I would say BNS together, is whatever new laws has been given to us by BNS, the similar procedure on the similar line has been incorporated in BNSS for the effective implementation of those things. So if IPC, the earlier IPC was giving us some a particular offense, provision for implementation or punishing that particular offender for that offense was given in CRPC. Similarly, whatever BNS is now giving to us, the similar thing is in the BNSS with us. The procedure is here. Apart from that, a simplified, I would say, uh, process has been made as far as right of appeal is concerned. Earlier there were a lot of entry cases were involved, that you need to take permission, you have to follow this kind of procedure, only then a particular person can appeal to a higher court. Now that has been simplified up to a little extent, that a major or most of the technicalities, I would say, have been done away with as far as the procedure of appeal is concerned. Apart from that, a scope of reform has been there. We are working more towards holding police people accountable for their actions, which was again a need, because we have been witnessing various cases wherein the police officials have been misusing their powers, or they're kind of taking benefit of the loopholes of the provisions of CRPC. So that kind of thing has been done away with. Apart from that, another provision with regard to, I would say, arrest. If arrest, we take an example of arrest is there. Earlier, if a private individual used to arrest a particular offender, there was no time limit was given as such, that in what particular time, in how much time he is supposed to hand over the culprit or the offender to the police. Now a stipulation of 6 hours has been added to it, that in case a particular person has been arrested by a private individual, the same should be handed over to the police official within 6 hours. So that kind of thing, I would say, just not is for the police officials but also for the judicial system, that now the police cannot take this benefit or cannot tell to the court of law that the particular offender was not handed over to me within the given time period. If 6 hours has been specified by BNSS, the court is going to presume that the offender was actually handed over to the police official within 6 hours, which reduces the, somehow it's a kind of one step. I am giving one example wherein somehow a kind of restriction has been imposed upon the police official, that now you are bound by the stipulation of that 6 hours. So you have to follow the procedure accordingly. You cannot undue delay the procedure on the pretext that you have arrested or rearrested the offender later on. So yes, this kind of thing is there. Another thing is that certain provision of the new BNSS found mention of ADR. As we were talking in the starting of this lecture only, that one of the objective of having these three laws with us was with regard to reduction of time in completing the process, or load of the courts in handling a particular matter. There are n number of cases pending. So yes, ADR is a another, I would say, welcoming step when it comes to reducing the load of courts, that by shifting to the possible cases which can be solved by way of ADR, it is going to somehow help in reducing the burden of the courts. As well as other aspects are concerned, mostly the provision of BNSs are focusing upon bringing transparency to the system. More the process is transparent, more the judicial system is being relied upon by the, I would say, youth as such. So these are some kind of, I would say, major changes which can we can see when we are talking about the three laws, because obviously all the three laws are so much having in their themselves that it cannot be clubbed in 1 hour. So a kind of summary which I thought that I would be able to contribute to you people was by way of this thing only. Now if we are having any kind of questions, I would like to have it with you people.
Hello.
Hello, Hanji.
Yes, good afternoon, ma'am.
Good
Ma'am,
afternoon there.
yeah, ma'am. Ma'am, I do have a minor query, ma'am. So, ma'am, you discussed about
Yes, please.
electronic evidence, right? So, in the previous act, we do had
Yeah.
65A and 65B, which was where the amendment was done in 2000. So, ma'am, as you told that the current act is dealing after the electronic evidences, is it prevalent to AI and metaverse as well?
Yes, dear. See, the provision is not specifically talking about AI as such. They have not used the term, but they have used the terms like electronic evidences, electronic records in any way or similar means or likewise. These kind of terms somehow giving us a kind of possibility that in even in future, if a new technology like AI is the present technology, in future if a similar technology develops, we should be able to include any kind of information disseminated by way of that technology be covered within the ambit of BSA. So yes, we are having provisions for catering to whatever information is disseminated, be it a false information or a right information. It, if it is spread, it is distributed by way of AI, then that comes within the prerogative of BSA.
Okay, ma'am. And ma'am, also, do we have the new provisions as on how the judges will be able to tackle with the technological advancement? Because as such, my knowledge under Section 116 of the Patent Act, we do mention about the special authorities that gonna, aid the judges for helping out with the tech savviness problem. So, how's your stand in this act?
See, whatever we are having with the patent law or the provision you are mentioning there, BSA has not done away with this. I would not say that we are now no more getting help from any expert on this. We are having scope for that. But yes, it is made only if we are concerned with BSA. I would like to comment this, that we are going to appreciate what the expert is going to give us on this. Like, no, it is not necessary that whoever the presiding judge is should be a person who is tech savvy. We need to understand this thing, that a person who is presiding over a particular matter need not be a person who is expert in every aspect. So yes, if there is a kind of expert available who can guide and aid the court, that is already, I would say, was a part of Indian Evidence Act, and the similar thing has been taken up to the BSA as well.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, dear. Another question I'm getting is, what are the various sections about security of male community, if there is any? Dear, thank you so much for your question, Ishita. But one thing which I was highlighting was, yes, that as far as sexual assault is concerned, or assault normal is concerned, we do not find a kind of provision where we are just talking about the aspect that a male has been subjected to rape, a male has been subjected to sexual assault, and a female has been made the offender, or the person who takes the punishment or the brunt of law. We are still not over there, which was required. It was required. I very much am with you on this. But yes, one welcoming step is that earlier only males were the ones who used to get punished for any offense committed against the female. And now the female, although not as a single perpetrator, but as a accomplice, as the one who facilitates the offense, can be brought up to the court of law as a accomplice. But yes, I am very right. I am very much with you on this. That yes, 377 has been decriminalized. Very right. And right now we do not have any specific provision wherein a male is the victim of any sexual offense and the female has been made the culprit for the same. So another question we are getting is, can't we make these changes through amendments? Why there is a new act? Is there any legal point of view rather than political point of view? A very good question, dear. Thank you so much for it. But see, let we not get into this point that whether these amendments were purely a political agenda of the Modi government precisely, or was something totally legal. What being a legal fraternity, I would like to comment is that I am somehow disappointed. I was looking forward to a lot more. If we talk about a new statute, a new code, we want reforms in the previous law. And yes, this is something that we are seeing. Only what was there in the previous laws is as it is, with certain kind of minor changes has been given to us on the plate. So yes, it is a kind of disappointment, but as I was giving you in my lecture, we should not totally be negating the aspect that certain things have been added to the new laws. But yes, I would not rather comment on it that it was a political agenda or not. As far as your concern is concerned, that whether we could have just made amendments to the previous law, it's like more that amendments, having amendment in a previous law and having a altogether new law are two different things. We had amendments in IPC in 2013 as well as in 2018. But somehow, amendments do not have that impact, I would say. When you are having this kind of thing in your mind that we are going to have a new law with us, a whole kind of societal impact is there, that altogether our laws are going into reform. Although the impact was not something which we were expecting, it was not given to us, it was not as such of our imagination or expectations, but yes, amendment always can be made to correct what is not there in the previous law. I would like to comment in this way that whenever you are going to introduce something new, it should be by way of new law. The old law should be done away with in order to start off fresh. So, yes, changes could have been made by way of amendments, but better is that we have a new law. Another thing we are getting is okay, so let's share some information for the students. Any other question we have? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Uh, does anyone other else have any question to ask?
No,
You can
sir.
type it
All
or
done.
okay. Okay. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your experience with us. Thank you, ma'am. So before we end this session, I want to share an important update with you all, guys. In our journal, we are publishing the issue 4 of volume 2. So if you guys want to submit your article, research paper, or blog with us, so you can share it with us. We will share the details or methods or that how you can all submit the papers. And one more thing, we we will also share the certificate of this event within 7 days. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, ma'am. Also, you may all leave. You all may leave now. Thank you.